This is Frank DiMora with part 2 of the July 27th of 2010 post. I'm going to move right on. In an article it says, if Hezbollah strikes, it will hit Lebanon. Barak is the Ehud Barak is the defense minister for Israel, and he just got through saying, and I'm going to read this for you, issues warning against resuming rocket attacks from the north. The IDF will attack the Lebanese government institutions if Israel is again subject to rocket attacks, Defense Minister Ehud Barak said in an interview with the Washington Post published on Sunday. He told the newspapers that since the Lebanese government is allowing Hezbollah to rearm, we will not run after each Hezbollah terrorist or launcher. We will see it as a legitimate to hit at any target that belongs to the Lebanese state, not just to Hezbollah. So what's happening here is you're seeing the tensions between the state of Lebanon and Israel mounting up. You have the Hezbollah, which is a faction that is incorporated within the Palestinian movement, and they're throwing again rockets into Israel. Israel's going to respond, and we know that these events are catalysts to what is coming, which is a regional war, and they're talking about the regional war that is coming, and they keep saying that it probably will happen this summer. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but we do know that it's going to happen soon. And by the amount of tensions that are forming within the Middle East, I would say that there's a good possibility that this will happen. Now, also, there was 1,500 Lebanese soldiers to be posted to the southern border of Lebanon. And they're moving troops. We see the rockets going into Israel. They're moving all these troops to the northern end of Israel, because Israel would be right here, and then you have Lebanon to the north of it. So they're moving these soldiers actually to the northern part of Israel, and really close to the Israeli border, which in this case would have been southern Lebanon. And so it is the same nations that we see in Psalm 83, because the Palestinians are mentioned. We see Hezbollah, and which is part again of the Palestinians and the Lebanese. So we see movement in the same direction that we know heading towards Israel. And again, these are all signs that this war is coming very, very soon. It says the Palestinian issue is the crux of the conflict in the region, and the peace and stability can only be achieved through a just and comprehensive settlement based on the two-state solution and credible terms of reference, namely the 2002 Arab Peace Initiative. Then it goes on to say that one of the delegates, or one of the leaders from the Arab League there, one of the statements he said, he's outlined Israel's violations is occupied Palestinian territories, including confiscation of land, home demolitions, settlement activities, and the attempts to Judaize the holy city of Jerusalem. In other words, what they're saying is Israel is going in, they've been wiping out some of these houses that the Arabs own, and it's all to incorporate and to maintain Jerusalem. And the Palestinians they don't want that to happen, because they want Jerusalem. And as Zechariah chapter 3 or 12:3 tells us, Jerusalem was going to be the major problem in our generation. This is part of the problem, and it's very, very specific. This isn't generalities here. God told us what was going to happen. Jerusalem was going to be the major problem, and we see it happening in the news, and now we're seeing more evidence that a war may break out. Now, again, it says the head of the Islamic movement in the Palestinian territories occupied in 1948, Israel, has warned of a likely regional war in the Middle East that may lead to a third world war, through which Israel will seek demolish of their mosque. This is what they're saying. And the mosque, again, it's in East Jerusalem. It sits where the first and the second temple were, on the mount, at the Temple Mount, and it sits, hopefully what the Jews want is they want their temple again to be built right on that mount. And this is going to happen because we were told that it was going to happen in Scripture. So they're worried about this regional war, and again, the regional war comes from what? Again, the factor is Jerusalem, the ownership of Jerusalem. And he called on the holiest people to protect, actually, the mosque from the various Israeli plots to destroy the historic site. Then it goes on, he says, calling the Arabs and the Islamic nations to protect the Al-Mosque from the enemies of Islam. Then he cited the possible regional war in which Israel will seek to demolish the mosque as the biggest threat ever faced the sanctuary. Before entering the prison, the sheikh said that I am standing on the threshold of prison, but on the threshold of the eradication of the Israeli occupation. In other words, he believes that Israel is going to be wiped out. And the movement of troops and everything that we're seeing coming out of the Middle East, they are going to make that attempt, at which will again fulfill the Zechariah prophecy. And because it says in Zechariah, they will counsel to come together, counsel themselves to say, let's destroy Israel as being a nation again. And so we see on the other side, which would have been the Iranian problem, and Iranians are sending people over in arms trying to boost the Hezbollah and the Palestinians into war, and to fulfill actually Psalm 83. It says in the Tehran from Rutgers just reported Iran expects the United States to launch a military strike at least on 2 countries in the Middle East in the next 3 months. Iranian President Ahmadinejad told the state-run press TV. So Ahmadinejad's out there. He sees what's going on. There's 13 ships off his coast. He sees the activity going on within the Middle East, the war talk, and again, Matthew tells us you'll hear war and rumors of war, and then we know from the other scriptures that war is coming, and it will definitely be here. And I believe that there is a very, very good chance that the possibility that this war is going to take place. Now, David, when you're talking about Zechariah 12:3, we see that in the last days Israel is going to be alone, isolated, and all the nations will come against. Now, one of the friends that Israel has is the Canadians, but the new Prime Minister David Cameron on Thursday urged Israel to lift its blockade of the Gaza Strip, slamming the current state of the Palestinian enclave as a prison camp. And he went on to say, let me be clear that the situation in Gaza has to change. Gaza cannot and must not be allowed to remain a prison camp, and he said in his speech to a business association during his visit to Turkey. Now, Turkey is an ally with Iran, very close ally, and with Russia. And both Turkey and Iran are in the in the Ezekiel 38 prophecy. Now that war will take place after the Psalm war, but we believe what might happen is Israel will attack Iran, and as a result the Arab nations bordering Israel will defend Iran, come together and say, we've had it enough, let's go out and take them out right now. And then you'll see the call for peace and safety will end. The sudden destruction that Paul talked about will be instigated. That war will take place, and obviously we see the outcome that Israel is not going to be eliminated and destroyed as a nation again. That's not going to happen. And all we could say is this: we know from Scripture what's going to happen, and everything that the Lord told us has already happened, except for very few prophecies before the 7-year tribulation, and that means the Psalm 83 and the Ezekiel war, and obviously the rapture of the church. So I'm going to go on to part 3 and discuss a little bit more of the current events and what's happening in the prophecy. So scroll down to see the rest for today.